So I'm recording. Yeah. So here, so in the previous class, we discussed about the catalog. Under the catalog, we have the schemas. Under the schema, we have the tables, and here we can create the custom tables, as well as also we can create the we can also create the whatever we want. We can create the data structures, export, import, like unload, unload, delta merge, export you want to do, I want to import it. So anything you can see it from here, right? These tables here. So these are the schema. Under the schema, we have the tables are there here. Under the schema, we have the tables are there here. So these are the sys tables here. We have the tables. So these are the schema. Schema means owner of the table. Schema means owner of the tables here. Owner of the tables are called the schemas here, right? So here, apart from that schema, you can see the content here. So this is mainly for the developers. This is mainly for the developers. So the developers who wants to do the development activity. Normally in the HANA also, we have the HANA modelers, which means HANA developers here. HANA developers here. So here, what they will do, they will create the applications, catalogs, privileges, so some packages. So they will create it here. Under, so what they will create the one package here. So then one package, so they will create it here. So suppose example, this is the development activity. You no need to worry about the here. So why? Because the developers will perform the here. Under the package, they will create the object. So analytical view, attribute view, data preview. So many things they will create it. Some tables. So something they will link to the multiple tables. So they know. Why? Because it's a purely their responsibility. It's a purely so the developer responsibility, sorry, developer responsibility to create the packages, content, privileges, and everything from here. So the next one is the provisioning. Provisioning here. Provisioning means it kind of smart data access here. It kind of data access. So which means suppose if you want to access the data from the some other databases or non-HANA databases, in that case we can use the so this data provisioning concept. We can use the data provisioning concept. We can use it here. Here we can create the data provisioning here, right? So here what we have to create here, we have to create the one remote data source. We have to create it here. One remote data source we have to create it here. Under that remote data source, so we need to provide the source details. Source details in the sense like source data. Let me show you here otherwise. So but here it's required the some drivers has to be installed here. It required the some we have to install the some drivers here. So the drivers are required here. So but let's see here. Okay, let me right click on the here, create the new remote data source here. So the basically what is this concept is like. So let me show you here. So suppose you don't have the licenses to install the all the HANA databases here. So you have centralized one HANA databases here. You have the one SQL Server database. You have the one DB2 database. You have the Sybase. You have some other databases here. So even so, why we are using the HANA for speed purpose, speed and to access the data fastly. Fastly we can access the data. So but here in HANA we don't have that much of budget here to take the licenses and everything here. So you have the SQL Server, DB2, MaxDB, you have the other database are there. So this data provisioning is, so you can connect to the other remote databases. You can connect to the other remote databases here. You can connect to the other remote databases to the here with, so then you can access the other systems level data from in this HANA database. So you don't require access to the this data, this data, this data, this data. Just you can log into the HANA system. You can log into the HANA system. Then we can just pull the data from the other databases, other remote databases. We can pull in the database from the other remote databases. So that is called the data provisioning. Means we can act smartly, we can smartly access the data from the other remote databases, other HANA or non-HANA databases. We can access it without logging. For that one, what we have to create? We need to create the source name. We have to create the remote source connection. We have to create it here. Just log into the here, right click and create the new remote source here. Here you need to provide the source details here. Suppose example, so suppose like HD12, there is a one more database. What is that database here? Suppose like D01, right? D01 database. Like otherwise D012, D012 HD1 database you want to access. Some naming convention I have given here. So why? Because a data accessing from D01 to HD1 here. This is the HANA database. So what are the adapters we can create it here? Means what are the systems we can integrate it here? We can see Teradata and IQ, HANA, Hadoop, Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, Spark, any other, all other databases we can access. All other remote data sources we can access it here from here, right? All other remote sources we can access it. Let's take for the other systems, other database also we can access it, but there is a drivers, OS level, at operating system level. So there is some drivers we have to install it here. Some connection from drivers. So we have to install it here. There is a voice level, some knowledge here. Some drivers we have to install it here. So that what we can do, we can create the some connectivities, some drivers, some drivers we have to install it, and we can create the data sources here. Once done, we need to restart the Linux host here. Then once done it, so what we can do, we can go to the here, then we can just provide the details to the here. Let's take example HANA database. I want to pull the data from the HANA to HANA. Here, what is the server name here? So suppose like HD1, right here. Then what is the port number here? So 3 instance number. So 0, 3 instance number. So 15, 3 instance number 15, we have to give it here. SQL port number here, right? 3 instance number. What is the instance number here? For this HD 3 instance number, D01, 07, yeah, D07. So D07 here. So let's see if it is wrong, then we can give it, change it to the again. So system, then what is the password? I'm not sure what is the password, but let's give the same. Then just enter the user ID, password, and the server details and the port number. Just click on the OK button. Then there is a remote source is created. Authentication failed. So I think this is wrong. So password, I'm not sure. Username cannot be empty. Username we have given that. Okay. So if you will just, yeah, I think it's created, right? We can see remote connection is established here. So HANA to HANA, I am pulling the data here. HANA to, so from HANA, I am pulling the database here. So what we can do, we can create the remote source. So even I don't have access to D01. Suppose example D01 we don't have. But so now it's less same as like that. You can also create the other remote sources. You can also create the data sources for the, you can also create the remote data sources for, so other HANA databases also you can create it here. Other HANA databases, you can create the remote sources here. You can see it here. So you can also create the remote sources for other HANA, not only HANA, non-HANA databases, you can create it here. BigQuery, Vara, so gRPC destination, Hadoop, DB2, SQL Server, Oracle, any HANA data, any non-HANA database also we can create it. But here I have established the connectivity to the HANA to HANA. I have established the connectivity here. So what I can do here, I can just go ahead and I can access the data. So this is the remote source. This is the data. I am in the HD1, but I am accessing the data from the other databases. Suppose example, let me see here. I will also add the so D01, SAP Linux 1, right? SAP the Linux 1 I have, that is called the 07 instance number. So that is called the D01 here, D01 here. So system user, so I have created the D01 database. So here we have the some tables. Example, what I can do in the sys schema, I can sys or system schema. Like let's take the system schema here. In the system schema, I can create the one new table here. So that is called the Z underscore training. So Z underscore test one, Z underscore test one. I'm training, I'm creating here. So name, so name table. So we have EMP. So something like that, we have the fields are available here. I have created here data. I have created here statement. I have created here. So then just you can log out from this one. Just log off. Okay. You have done it. You have logged off from here. So what I can do here, so what I can do, so now you created the remote source for the head D01, that is in the different. But so you also suppose why we need data, so we can log into this system, we can log into the D01, we can get the data, right? But here the thing is, here the developers require this data, other databases data, and in this databases data they will merge it. They will create the data sets for the analysis purpose, analytical purpose. They will create the data set. They will merge the two tables and they will merge it. They will do their own development activity. For that one, we need to establish the connectivity from our databases to the remote database we need to establish. So if you don't have the established the connectivity, if you don't have this concept, you need to log into this database, and you need to log into this database. You need to export the data. You need to merge it. Something again you have to import. There is a lot of things you have to do it from here. So just single click, we can real time data access. We can perform it here. So what you have done, you have created the data provisioning here. One of the remote source you created. From here, you just go to the what is the schema, in which schema you created the table. So this one, right? So this one under the system schema you created. Why? Because schema, under the schema only we have the table. See here, I'm able to access the table data here. So what you can do, you can add as a virtual tables here. You can add as a virtual table here, so that if you create the add as a virtual table here, so that will be added, that data will be added, that table will be added as a virtual, not the real table here. So you created the virtual table. Now go to the catalog, you can open the system, you can open the tables here, you can see the tables here, right? These are the yesterday's real tables. These are the virtual tables. That's why you can see the different symbol here. But this table is from this data source. But data, you can pull the data, you can real-time data, you can preview it. You can just preview the data here. Whatever the fields, whatever the data is there, you will get the data from here, and it will be helpful for to create the data sets, to merge the data of the two databases. It will be helpful. So you have the data here, right? Whatever you do in the D01, this table level, then automatically the same data you can access from here without copying the data. You can access that table data from here without copying. You can access the table data from here. You can access it here, right? So that's why we have the data provisioning concept here, So smart data access, which means smartly you can access the data from the other remote sources here. here it will give the what is the statement it is executed overview. So then how many rows the data it will pull it out, all the data you can grab it from here. So any data, so not only this one, any data you can access from other systems, any data you can access from the other systems. Suppose you want to access the, suppose like, let's see, you want to create as a which other systems table data, you want to create this one, then that is created. Then you want to data statistics, this table. So the D01 tables are some tables I have added here, right? Some tables I have added here. So I am not logged into the D01, but I can still pull the data from the other databases here. Just to grab it, you can go in the data preview here. See here, number of rows are detected here. I can also just pull the data from the other systems. I can also got the data here. So which means I pulled the data from the other remote data sources here. Other remote data sources here. Just click on the refresh. You can see, so the query here, how many rows you pulled from the remote source, right? Which means you have not logged into the database, you pulled the data from the other remote sources here. So like this, we have to create the connectivity to the other databases. Suppose example, let's try to create the data from the SQL server here. Let's see whether it will work or not. Definitely it won't work, but SQL2, so HD1. Then here, that is the, why? Because we need to create the, so data source name, SQL server. So property, this property file we have to maintain. A lot of things we have to, it's not, technically it's not possible. We have to do the some groundwork here. So apart from that, so what other database we can see? Spark, Hadoop, GRFC, BigQuery. BigQuery means server we required and port number we required. BigQuery. So this is also required the some configuration here. So in case, just example I am giving here. So then if you go ahead and create the data source should not be empty here. So just I created example, then it won't create, it will give the, and definitely the credentials are required here. I don't know what is the credentials also here, right? So definitely it's required. So sometimes if you give wrong, then we will get the errors here. We will get the errors here. Created, but it will not work. You see here, if you go to the here, so it's give the error message here, internal error, which means the configuration is incomplete. The configuration is incomplete here, right? So this is the way we can access the data here. If it is successful, then we will get the like this here. Then we can pull the data here. We can pull the data, we can query the data, whatever you want. You can access the any table data, any schema data you can access from the remote data sources. That's why this is called the data provisioning concept here. So here simple SAP to HANA I created here. So why? Because for other systems, there is a configuration is required, some adapters, those things. So this is the provisioning concept here, right? So the next one, security. HANA security part here. You can see the security part here. In the security tab, here we can create the users, roles, kind of security, HANA security. Normally, every organization, there is a separate security team for the, so application as well as the HANA security, database security, also separate security team here. But let's discuss some details about the, so some information about the security users creation here, right? So let's see here. So for the user creation, HANA security. So here to create the HANA, here there are the default users which will come as part of the HANA installation. This one will come as part of the HANA installation time. This will come as part of the HANA installation. We will get these details here, right? As part of the HANA installation, we will get these details, system, all these things we will get. Suppose if you want to create the user in HANA. So what we have to do, so right click on the users, click on the create button here, create button here. So why we need security for the databases? Data for security is very important for the HANA databases here. For security is very important for the HANA databases here. Why? Because to avoid the theft, to avoid the unnecessary unauthorized access. So definitely we need a security. Security is required to access the data from the database level. If it is the banking sector systems, there is a more security. If it is the banking sector system, there is a more security here. So HANA security is protecting the important data from the unauthorized access. And also we should meet the security standards compliance as per the company policy. So we have to obey all the company policies and everything here. HANA provides the multi-database container. Multi-database means system database. We have the separate security and separate security user is required. Then tenant database separate user is required here. So multiple databases can be created in a single HANA system. In a single SID we can create, but each tenant there is a separate security tab is required here. Separate security tab is here. So SAP HANA provides, they are the multiple, they are the same as like how the other systems are providing. Suppose if you take the so non-HANA SAP, we have the user ID and password based and role based concept, authorization object restrictions are there. Same as like HANA also provide the some of the security features here. Security features here. HANA security features here. Those are called the user and the role management. So we can user and the role management, then authorization, then we have called the authentication method. So then encryption of the data here. So whatever the possible ways are encryption of the so persistency layer, data persistency. Then we have the so network layer, encryption of the network layer here, encryption of all the layer, all the ways, either network level, so database level, then OS level, then data level, we have the security encryptions. Why? Because our data will be saved into the database level, right? So if it is a critical security, maybe critical complex passwords or everything will be saved into the database level itself. Your banking accounts, banking sector passwords, all those things will be saved into the database level. But if the hacker hack your database, if he can able to see the all the passwords, account, balance, and everything. But here, for each and every database, they will provide a lot of security features to avoid the unnecessary access, unauthorized access here, right? So that's the so we have the more security features in the HANA side also we have here, right? So then here what we have required here, right? So HANA, you can see user and role management here. User and role management here. User and password here. So user and role management. Suppose like so if you want to access the HANA system, definitely user is required. But you definitely password also required, roles also required, role also required here. By default, roles are available. You can only access the system, but if you want to use other tabs or other functionalities, any actions, definitely the role is required. The role will be differentiate. So, so role will be differentiate the so what you are means you are the manager, you are the administrator, you are the developer, you are the fresher. The role will tell us. So that's why here role is very important here, right? So here HANA in HANA, so user and role management, user and role management. So you can see here we can provide the username. So based upon the username, we can create the so one user we can create it here. But here authentication here. Authentication means database identifies who is accessing the HANA database. It should be verified, right? User ID is required. But what about the password? So named users, passwords, right? Passwords also it's required here. Passwords also required. So here there are the multiple authentication methods. User will follow the multiple authentication method. Normally, how we will log into the mobile with the fingerprint authentication or password based or print or so the pattern, multiple ways, multiple authentication methods we will use it to log into the our mobile device, right? In the mobile device itself, we have the multiple times. What about the DB databases here? So databases also here we have the following authentication methods are available as of now here. So these are the authentication methods in the database level here. So password. So you can use the user ID and password. That is the one of the authentication method, right? Then second one is the Kerberos mechanism. Kerberos means it can be used the JDBC, ODBC connectivity and HTTP. That time we will use the Kerberos mechanism. Anyone you can use it here. Second, next one is the SAML. SAML is the next one is the SAML mechanism. SAML is for the accessing. SAML is the SSO purpose without asking any user ID and password. So then the SAML mechanism works here without any user ID and password. The SAML mechanisms works here. That is called the SAML authentication configuration here. Here the custom identity provider we need to integrate it here. The next one is the SAP logon ticket here. SAP logon tickets here. The user can be authenticated by SAP logon tickets here. Logon tickets means SAP they will provide some logon tickets that will be authenticated by logon ticket here. Next one is the X.509 certificates here. So when you are accessing from the HTTP call or something you are accessing, the HTTP certificate, client certificate should be trusted via certificate. Maybe it kind of certificate based authentication. You will authenticate it here. Certificate based authentication, you will authenticate it to the system here, right? So certificate based authentication here. So certificate based authentication here. X.509 certification here. So these all are the SAP provided logon tickets here. So you can use, these are the authentication methods. These are the authentication methods which you are using here, which we can use it to log into the systems. So this required the special configurations, all those things here. But here we can just enter the user ID, password is the better security feature, standard security feature which is available here. Do you want to force to change the password, initial password? So then you can use it here. Validity from and validity to, whatever you want to give it, you can give it here. That is the HANA validity from and date here, right? So here you can see client. What is the client session client you want to access? If you want to give, you can give it. Otherwise, just you can ignore it here, right? If you want to give the restrict, why? Because I want to give access to only tomorrow, validity until tomorrow at the same time, his access will be revoked, means your access will be deleted from the systems. So that's why we have the validity and date we have given here. So if you want to increase, we can increase it here. If you want to increase, we can increase it here, right? So that is the one thing here. Next one is the granted roles. So these are the privileges. Here. So next to authorization. This is called the authorization. So authentication, multiple authentication method, user ID, password, security, all those things here. Then user ID and role management. Next one is the authorization here. So authorization means even though you have user ID and password, let me show you here. I have created the user ID and password, right? Just click on the deploy button here, right? Then user ID is created here. Then what I will do, I will log in with the my user here. So Ravi user instead of system user, we should not use the system user. Then I am able to log into the Ravi user here, right? Then when I click on the open button here, but you can see you cannot open the any tile, any tab, any access, nothing works. Why? Because you created the access user ID, but password also you have, but nothing, no privileges, no authorization to access the database related things, you don't have the anything here, right? So here in the HANA, authorization is required when you want to access the something in the database level, some tabs, some roles, some configuration tab, some administration. You want to stop something, authorization required. By default, we have the access to the system. So system user is a super user. That is the reason you are able to access the everything in the HANA system. But normally, the real time you won't get this type of wider access here. Why? Because it's a wider access. You can do only limited things in the system. You have only limited things you can perform it in the system. So that who will restrict that one. So here in the authorization concept here, we can do the restriction authorization concept. We can restrict here depending upon the authorization. Why? Because you have provided, you have created the user, Ravi user created, but you have not assigned any authorization. Means which tabs you want to access, is the administrator, which roles, which tab. So that thing you have not deployed anywhere. That thing you have not created anywhere here. So right, that thing you have not created anything. That's the reason. So here we have the authorization concept. So depending upon the authorization provided to the user, he can perform the database operation. Respect to database object, respect to operations, he can perform it. This authorization is called the privileges. There is a one more name for the authorization is called the privileges. Privileges here, right? So privileges here. The privileges we can directly grant it to the user, or indirectly we can assign to the role also here. Means so privilege means what he has to do once he log in. So here we have the number of privileges are there. These privileges we can assign to the directly to the user. Suppose here he is the user. So this is the privilege. This is the role. Role means what is that? So you can directly assign the privileges to the user. Or so this privileges you can assign to the role, then directly you can assign this role to the user here, however you want. So that is possible. This is called the privileges here. This is the role here. So whatever you want to assign, you can assign to the here, right? So that is the one here. He is the user. So basically, user should have access to the all the tabs or the required tabs here. That's why we have the user privilege and authorization tab here. User privilege and authorization tab here, right? So that is the one here, right? So here, so you can see here there are the multiple privileges are there here. Multiple privileges here. System privileges, object privileges, then analytical privileges, package and privileges, application privileges. There are the number of privileges here. So what does it mean? What does it mean by each and every privilege here, right? So here system privileges mean it controls the normal system, it control normal system activity here. Suppose if you want to system privileges, suppose if you want to see here, we want to create the database schema, we want to create the monitor, if you want to perform the license, if you want to perform the version audit, anything we want to create it. So this privilege we have to assign to the here. Suppose we want to we want to assign the just who is the audit person, then you can just assign the audit operator or audit administrator. He is the backup, then backup is the catalog read. So then you can assign the this catalog means you can only access the catalog related things. So remote data source, you can only he is only having the access to create the remote sources, which means which we created in the provisioning. Schema creations, data, credentials, unify, log, role, be session. So anything, whatever he is only table, trace admin, user admin. He is security means user admin. So whatever the user he want to create it, you can assign the respective the privilege you can assign to the him. So now you created the user, you have the authorization, but you assigned only catalog read permissions here. So now previously you are unable to access. Now you can see you have the some certain level access. You got it now. Now you are able to open the administration page. Now you are able to do the some alerts. All the tabs you are able to open, but you are able to open the alerts tab. Why? Because it's a insufficient privilege. Means you don't have the required authorization. Why? Because you are not the you are not assigned the so some kind of like alerts related privilege. Alerts related privileges is not assigned to you. So monitoring, log admin. So these privileges are not assigned to you. That's why you are unable to open that tab here. That is called the system privileges here. System privileges means normal system operations, operations and activities. So this should be required. So you are the basis fresher. You want to monitor the database means you need only monitoring privileges here. So if they provide the super user access, then if you do other things also in the system, then what is the difference between you and your manager? Why? Because manager also having the same access, you are also having the same access. Then if you delete something, then then who is the responsibility here, right? So that is the reason we have the so we can this privileges means authorization will restrict the what you want to access here. So the next one is called the object privileges. Object privileges here. Object privileges are like objects. It's kind of SQL privileges here. In the database level, if you want to modify the data object table level, if you want to do some views, development objects, create, update, drop, indexing anything, you can just create the access here. Suppose Ravi user need access to the only the specific table. He don't need anything. He need only the specific table. He need the access here. Then you can just assign the suppose like z underscore test, right? Z underscore test. We can create it here. Z underscore test here. So he need only access to the this one. Then we can assign this object to the display. You want to do the some selection, update, delete you want to do, then we can assign to the this person here. Can assign to the this person here, right? This is called the object privileges. This is called the object means specific to the database object here. Specific to the database object we can assign here. Specific to the database object we can assign here, right? So that is the database specific procedure here, right? So that is the one. So the next one is the analytical privileges here. Analytical privileges here. Analytical privileges means it kind of so used to read the HANA information. Analytical means normally here the analytical privileges. Normally the developers they will develop the some analytical privileges, some packages, some custom in the content in the tab they will do the development activities, right? Analytical privileges, then data sets. So if you need that level access, so then we can assign the only that analytical privileges we can assign it here, that technical privileges. So we can do that one. Then package privileges here. Packages privileges are used to some certain packages here. So normally you create the packages, some analytical views. Now normally developer created. So you are creating the one user, that user required only access to the that particular object, the particular table. So in that case, we need the access to the particular table or the particular and packages we required. The particular packages we have to create it here. So we have created the some training, some package. These are the custom. So Z training something we created, right? Z training package. So user required the access to the this Z training here. Then we have created the Z training access we have created here. We have assigned to this user. The next one is called the application privileges here. Application privileges are required in a SAP, some like applications. In the HANA, not only storing the database in HANA, we can use the access A extended services we can use it. So to extended application services we can use is to build the one mobile applications. So any other database level applications we can also build it here. That's why HANA is a combination of the software and hardware innovations here. So that type of application privileges are granted here. That privileges we can use it here. Next, privilege on the users. So your own users, some other users you want to privilege on the debugger user. Suppose this user having the debugger access, then you want to assign similar privileges to this user, then you can assign to this privileges here. This is called the privileges here. So now user can perform the all kind of activities here. If you assign the super user, he can perform the remaining activities also here. See here, still user insufficient privilege is unable to access the remaining things, which means here you have assigned only one thing here. If you just assign the some other alert related privileges here, alert related privileges or license related, data related, some monitoring admin. So if you assign these privileges, so he is the monitor admin. Then now just you can ask user to, so user to use this option here. Just if you go to the again, you can perform the monitoring related things. You can perform it here. Monitoring related things you can perform it. So still user is did not get the access. Why? Because here again object level we are assigned here. Then analytical level we have assigned here. So these are the authorization concept. These all are the authorization concept here. So multiple users, then multiple level access, we can create it here. We can create it here. So in the HANA user administration here, we can create the technical DBA user. Means we are the technical DBA users here. There are the two types of users in the HANA. One is the DBA users. DBA, database administrators, means we are the DBA administrators. We are the DBA users, database level administrator users. It is means who directly work with the SAP HANA database. Directly we will log into the HANA database. We will do the database users creations, deletions, some other objects, naming, privileges. Then we will create it here. Then so those are the we are the users. Some database users are the real users. Real users here means who wants to work on the database, not to deletion. Real person, business users, real person, that is called the real persons. So some are the system users, some are the real persons. So now system user is created by default we create system user is created. Those are the DBA user. Ravi user is the business user, who real user. He is the real user. He is the real user here. So here standard users will get the standard access and everything. Restricted users means we are the restricted users means so only specific level access we have provided to the Ravi user, which means he can only perform the specific level access. He can perform it. Specific level access we can perform it here. These are about the HANA users creation. Sir, what about the roles tab here? What about the roles here? So here we have the by default roles are available. So if he's the monitoring user, if he's the developers, if he's the administrator, we can assign the related roles to the users here. So if you want to create your own user, right click and click on the create the role here. Right click and create the role here. Suppose I want to create the basis fresher user here. So fresher. Then just creating the one user here fresher. Then here you can just you can just to assign what you want to do here. What system privileges is the fresher means only monitoring, right? So just check what is the monitoring admin. You can only do the monitoring. Then assign the monitoring admin here. So next time, so you created the fresher role, one administrator role, one developer role, developer administration security. Next time, when you are creating the one role, one user, so your manager asked you to create the one user. The user name is called the fresher one. Then you said that you are creating the one user here. Then Now, what authorizations we have to give it? Fresher means what access? Then here you already created the role, right? You already created the Z underscore fresher basis fresher role created. You assign this role to the user. You can only perform the monitoring of the your SAP system. You can only perform the monitoring of the your only SAP system here, the fresher one. So the fresher one. You can only perform the monitoring of the SAP systems here. Why? Because he has only fresher role. He is having only the monitoring. The fresher role is assigned here. This fresher role is only monitoring admin only assigned here. So like this, we can restrict it here. Role will tell you the what are the activities you have to do it here. So with the security, we have the roles and the users tab here. So you can, so suppose you want to log the user, and then we can log the user here. So deactivate the user. User has been deactivated, which user cannot log in here. If you want to activate the user, unlock the user, then we can unlock the user from the database level. We can do it here, right? So then security, right? Suppose, so the password length should be like this. If you go to the password policy here, you want minimum password length should be 8 characters. So then last 5 used passwords we should use it. The initial password should expire 7 days. So this is the blacklisted password. Some people they will put the welcome India, so US, something like that. They will put the some passwords, some guessable words, guessable passwords. So we can block those passwords also here. We can block those passwords here by putting into the blacklisted here, by putting into the blacklisted passwords here, right? So this is the password policies, security things and everything here. SAML2 provider is different, and data volume encryption means normally one copy of data will be stored into the main memory. Then after that, during the save point, same suppose user created the one bank account he created, account number, password also he saved it. Then that will be saved the one copy of data into the data folder at operating system level. If some hacker hack the data at your OS level, then he can view the passwords of the data folder and everything, right? Why? Because the copy of data storing into the data level. In that case, if you do the encryption of the your index server, what will happen? You cannot view the password. It will be in the binary coding. So that's called the encryption. If you want to encrypt that one, you can do the encryption also here, right? That auditing. So we can enable the auditing. So then we can create the audit policies. Maybe in most of the banking sectors, there audit will happen. So here yearly once, let's see who are doing the data provisioning activities, who are doing the deletion activities, who are doing the deletion successful all activities, that will be tracked here. That will be tracked under here. We can use the that will be tracked under the one database table here. We can create it that one. So suppose like that multiple projects, the users who are using the data provisioning option you are using, we can create the options. We can create it here. We can create it here. The audit policies here. Audit policies we can create it here. So that is what we can do it here, right? That is what we can create it in the systems here, right? So that is what we can do it here. This is called the audit policy. So security audit policies here. So auditing, so that whatever we do here, everything will be tracked. So yearly once the people will do the auditing, something abnormal, something is happens, they will fire the employees. Because part of the auditing, you did the some abnormalities, you deleted something from the database level, because all the confidential data, financial data, everything, bank data, everything will be saved into the database level. So something you delete something wrong, you will be fired here, right? Why? Because audit logs are enabled here. So whatever you do here now, everything will be recorded in the database level. So that's why we have to carefully do this kind of activities and everything here. Okay, this is about the HANA security part here. Okay, this is about the HANA security part. So any questions, anyone? Users creation. Suppose if you want to reset the
Yes,
password,
sir.
lock, unlock, everything we can do it. Yes.
Sir, we create users and password, all those stuff in system DB or tenant DB, and in
So
both.
both we have to create it, but currently both concepts are same. But users concept we have to there in the system DB we need to have the special users, but tenant DB also we need to have the users. But one user you cannot access the system DB and tenant DB. So system, if you want to access the system DB, you need the specific user in the system DB as well as the in the tenant also you need the access.
Okay. That means one user is created in the system DB, so can we connect with the tenant DB as well?
No, that is what I'm telling, right? So one user
Okay.
is only specific to the system DB, and you need the one more user for the tenant DB. Means so each and every database you need the specific user. Dedicated user ID is required.
Okay. Can you open both the securities part, both security and users, users, yes,
Okay.
and in the tenant DB as system
Yeah.
DB as well.
Yeah. In the this is the system DB. Here we don't have any users,
Yeah,
but if I open the here, so here the users. Ravi.
but sir, both have a system DB. You can see
It,
that
this will be
system created users.
during the installation time, system will create the system user and system user in the system DB, tenant DB. Then only you are able to access you are able to access the system DB and tenant DB by using the system user, same password. It will be created by default. But when you are creating the manually, it won't create. So you have to manually create the user in the tenant DB security and system DB security also users list you need to create it.
Okay.
Normally users don't require access, business don't require access to the system DB. Why? Because there is no data stores. Only tenant they require the access. But who require the access as a administrator? We. Then so we have already system user or we can create our own user, we can create it here. Same kind of symptoms here. Any other questions from anyone?
హలో
Yes.
సార్ యాక్చువల్లీ ఇక్కడ